energetic presentations from 4 candidates who are aspiring to be students. They're about to be awarded 300,000.
300,000 naira.
Well, no. Are they getting 300,000 naira or are they getting a
course?
Worth?
Worth about 300,000 naira or more.
Yes.
Who's your favorite candidate? We had Toke, Chima, Shei, and Jesse. Who do you think is coming out on top? Huh? Toke. Okay.
Girl power.
Girl power. What was Toke's
was that your imitation of me?
Are you sure you're not going to give Toke the presentation? Okay, who else? Who else do you think?
What about
Jesse?
Lemonade? Yep, that was
Jesse's Mr. Lemonade. Nobody's going for my guy, she. Eh? Nobody's doing proper guy that uses Mac. Okay, let's get back on stage. Tunde and Shei from Orange Academy. Round of applause. Where are they? Okay.
Okay.
They were in the lunchroom, struggling so hard to find the winner.
You know what? I have to say it was difficult because I was debating the candidates as well.
Take the center too.
And I think each of the ideas has got its own merits.
Yeah, they have.
There's a market for each one, that's for sure.
Chima was with the Nigerian-made inverters, which definitely we all need. But the issue of pricing was, he said he would get back to us, right?
Are you ready to get back to us?
So we're still waiting on that. So let's hand over to Tunde and Shei before we move on to the next and final panel for the day. You guys have been great, by the way. Round of applause for yourself. A bit more
Please appreciate yourself more.
Okay, let me clap for you then.
I'll join you.
All right. Crowd has half. Where's everybody?
Okay. I'm sure they're just stretching their legs outside and coming back inside. We're back to announce the people, or the person. There's supposed to be 2 people, 2 winners for the idea competition. However, in our judgment, we feel there's only one winner. It's just truth. And what are we looking for? I can go over it again. We're looking for something that is workable. You have to think about your strategy. You have to be able to identify a gap. You have to be unique. You have to have the wow effect. It has to pop out. You don't have all year to convince anybody to join you. You just need a few minutes to get anybody to put on their mind whatever idea you have on people's mind, and they can't sleep again because of you. So based on those criteria and a lot more things, we will be announcing who can guess who the winner is?
Oscar.
Okay. All right, maybe I should stand up to announce this.
Okay, you know what? All 4 of you, lie down. Stand up. Just line up there, not lie down. Go on.
Let us see you.
Just in the middle of the hall.
Let me see you. So.
All right. No, face the crowd. Face the crowd.
You can face the crowd.
Come here. Here, don't be afraid. Come here. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, like that.
So don't look at me. Should it be? Okay, what about? Okay, what about?
Okay.
What about? Okay,
is this the crowd feedback you need?
I'm confused because.
What about?
What about? Boo! All right. We believe they all have fantastic ideas, but we believe somebody was able to get across the most, and we believe he can push it the most, and we believe he has the best execution. So the winner is, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together.
Wait. Just wanted to anticlimax it.
Nice one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner for the New Media Conference Showcase powered by Orange Academy is...
Put your hands together for nobody but the... The proper guy.
Proper guy.
Congratulations. No, you can still wait. Congratulations.
Oh, good? You can.
All right, so I'll ask for
Proper guy. Can I just say
right.
something?
Okay.
And it's not because the proper guy or because he uses a Mac or because no. It's because he has an idea that you can remember right now. Whether you like it or not, you can remember it right now. And that shows me something that there's something there. He can see a gap.
Nice
He came up with that name that you can't even forget. And you want to just run away with it. And he had the most questions. It's because he has aroused your interest to a level. So that's why. It's not because he can speak good English or because he uses a Mac. Hello? Thank you.
All right, okay.
All right. Okay. It was really tough to decide this. I was the one that powered the second one. Based on the Orange Academy standard, it was only Sheyi Showumi we found. However, I have sentiments for when it comes to women issues.
Face the crowd, face the crowd. Face the crowd.
So, yes, not the winning idea, but based on the fact that she's the only woman that stood up for this task, and based on the fact that she's looking into one of the major issues we have in Nigeria, which is actually agriculture. So, Toket will be going on the scholarship with Shay.
Woo!
So, congratulations, Toket.
Me and Toke are actually related. I didn't want to let you guys know before now. So it won't be like I rigged it. All right? So Toke, we'll see you at home. All right. Are we good?
Yes, we're good.
No runner-up prize, something? Nothing? Nothing?
Well, unfortunately, the winner gets it all in this case.
Okay.
Usually, when it's a pitch, is one person gets the job, the other person goes home. That's the real world. So, we're sorry,
okay.
guys.
Just a quick word from our runner-ups, okay? Just a quick one.
Okay. I appreciate the feedback I got from this opportunity to present my ideas, and just watch out for us.
And congratulations to my colleagues who made it. Thanks for the opportunity. Orange Academy, whether you get me the scholarship or not, I'm coming to Orange. So.
Can you at least get discount? 20% discount? Let's commit to them. Don't consult anything, nothing. No. Don't worry, I'll talk to Oga.
Okay, wait.
Don't do like we don't know who you are. We know you. You're Orange.
I just committed an error, a big one, and it's because what? No. I'm advertising now. While sitting, someone asked that did he say a pamphlet or something? So if you wanted to find out more information about Orange Academy, you can. That's the proper guy to talk to right there. His name is Tayo. His name is Tayo. You can ask him any questions about our programs and things. And you can also go to cluborangeng.com and then to find out more information. For the application for discount, he should, is not granted, he should forward his application for for review. We're going to review internally and we'll decide. Yes, thank you for the yes.
We are our problem in this country. All right, round of applause to both of them. And of course, we have Toke and Sheyi. Where's Toke? Quick one.
Thank you very much, Orange Academy. I'm so elated. God bless you.
All right, so I don't have a Mac, but I won. I want to say okay, Jason.
No, I do honestly do appreciate the humor, the fact that people actually, connect with what we're trying to say. A really big thank you to the Academy for giving us this opportunity to talk. Even if we don't win, just the opportunity for you guys to hear what we're trying to do is really, really good enough. So I really appreciate this. More grease.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys, and congratulations to both of you. See you in the academy. The course is about how many months? 6 months? Would they get married? Is that what you said? Oh, okay, sorry. Congratulations to both of you. All right, guys, let's move on very quickly. Our time is fast spent, and we're moving on to our final panel today. I'm guessing they're all here.
Today we're discussing driving Nigeria's socioeconomic development via technology. And as soon as I saw the topic and saw the panel, something struck me. Like, while we're at a period where the stats board is telling us that there are like 500,000 more people, about 500,000 people are out of jobs, these 3 companies have been hiring people. So they're definitely doing something right. When like the rest of the country is going one way, like they are going the right way. So we're going to be tapping into their experience and finding out what they've been doing. So I think the place to start is to just broadly look over the problem. What do you think the problem is with socio-economic growth as it is? Let me start with the guy from Max. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. The problem with socio-economic growth as is, from my experience or from what we've seen so far, jobs are being created, right? There's always this talk about how there are no jobs. There are some jobs that are being created. The challenge is that a lot of people don't have either the proper skill sets to do those jobs, or the right kind of jobs are not being created for people, so people are not being properly motivated. So there's something we say in the office. We don't like to hire people who have more than 5-6 years of experience, because they tend to be very good at looking busy and very, very poor at like producing, right? So a lot of what we do is we're actively hiring people who are pre-NYSC. We're hiring people who have maybe 1 year, 2 years of work experience, and bringing them in and then grinding them down with the culture of like using proper KPIs. So each person, each team has KPIs they work with and are tracked on a weekly basis. We use that to check performance. We use that to give feedback and a lot of different things, right? So what that has done for us is we bring in people and they're at a particular level, and we're consistently giving them goals to help them move from one level to another. And that means I don't need to hire more people, because these guys are actually improving and then doing work that somebody who had maybe 4 or 5 years of experience would have been able to do for us. These people who have maybe less than a year of experience or none at all are doing for us. So yeah.
No. Yeah, Bankole, please chip in.
I didn't mean to take the mic away. I'm not an economist. It's actually not one of my strongest suits. The only thing I understand, and I wish I understood more about, is blogging. However, it is obvious to me that a lot of what has happened in Nigeria over the past, more than 55 decades is the fact that we are not a diversified economy. It's an economy that has relied on pretty much one resource for most of its economic activity. And in many respects, what is currently happening, or what has been happening over the world over the past few months in terms of the oil price crash, has in a way, some people might not agree, been a blessing, because what it's forcing us to do is to look inward and figure out how else we can create value. Countries that have depended on oil for their livelihood have typically had the same problem. It's called the Dutch disease, because that one source of income makes it impossible for them to look into other areas of the economy for income. And when you do that, the oil sector can be only, can you hear me? It can only employ so many people. And a lot of that value is concentrated in one place. So it doesn't trickle down into the larger economy. But when you create value in other sectors that are right now very, very underdeveloped. So agriculture is obviously the most obvious one, but there's so many gaps of infrastructure that by itself, agriculture is not what will save us. It's also all those other things. So if you look at the steel, mining and all of that stuff, like the capacity to even manufacture products, and when we say things like buy Niger to grow the Naira, the things that need to be put in place for us to begin to become a manufacturing economy are not in place yet. We're going to have to industrialize on a massive scale. We're talking about billions of dollars in investment that needs to happen in many areas of the economy for that to happen. But having said all of that, it's not a picture of gloom and doom. There are people who have been innovating in spite of all of that, everything that's happening. The biggest place where we've been able to leapfrog, obviously, is in technology. And why I'm excited about technology is that the barriers to entry are, if not non-existent, super low. And like Mohini was saying, the internet just affords people an opportunity to interact with the world, interact with the rest of the world. The whole world literally is at your fingertips, and you're able to extract value from, you know, whatever it is you're able to create. But not only does the internet allow you to create value out of seemingly nothing, it actually even accelerates other offline activities you're doing. So if you were selling in a kiosk or something, and you put the power of the internet underlying that, all of a sudden you can multiply your foot traffic or the amount of orders that you can collect. Somebody who was selling stuff in Unilag, for instance, if the hostels around Unilag were their clientele, they can extend to the rest of Akoka. Why? Because it's within close proximity. But those people who would normally not know that there was a store in Unilag that sells that thing that they want, now suddenly can discover it because the person is using Twitter or Instagram, and they're like, where can I buy that? How much does it cost? Do you deliver? You know, so those are the things that are happening, and it's just really exciting to be part of that. We're seeing in maybe not real time, but in a real way how, you know, we can participate in the economy and actually take it forward. A few years ago, we were contributing, technology sector was contributing about 8% to GDP. Now it's somewhere around 14%. And what I really wish to see happen is more investment in technology sector. I'm a bit disappointed with what is going on with the budget, the 2016 budget right now, but hopefully we will see we will see people double down. That is at the level of policy on that sector.
All right, Mohini, do you want to add something?
Very little. Bank said a lot of what's on my mind. I think that, I mean, particularly around tech, as an industry that transcends borders, which I've personally experienced, because I know a lot of, so the nature of tech and software development is that you can work remotely. And as an industry where you don't have to be spatially situated in your area of work, I think that's awesome in terms of bringing Forex as we care about. And so, yes, I support that, you know, of all industries, I think we really need to take a closer look at developing that and seeing how we can leverage that non-barrier between us and the rest of the world and how we can make money. Thanks.
Okay, so just going back to what they all said, like each of them mentioned tech as part of a key thing that they do that makes them able to hire at a time like this. So it brings me to the next question, which is sort of like my opinion, but I'm imposing my opinion on you guys and getting you guys to weigh in. I sort of feel like in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole, there's sort of like an inclusion problem. There are techies on one side, and then there's everybody else, right? And if technology is the way forward, then it means that everybody needs to be carried along. Or what do you think? Because it's still like you see the average programmer or IT person, like just look down on everybody else, you know. But we're saying that tech, like everybody needs to adopt tech, right? Because tech, again, one of my opinions, tech is no longer like an industry. It's like the middleman for every industry. Like for any business, you need tech. You know, so what do you think about inclusion, especially here? Is it like a cultural, is it a thing, first of all, and then is it, if it's a thing, is it like a cultural thing, or what do you think?
I share your opinion, and I mean, I remember having conversations with friends who may be out of the country or not necessarily in the tech space, and like they don't know the people I'm talking about, the companies I'm talking about, the services that I'm talking about. And I'm just like, wow, though, such a bubble. And I mean, one way, so definitely there's an inclusion issue. One way that I know that it's possible to tackle that, because one thing that I appreciate about Iyi's vision, Iyi, co-founder of Andela, is that he is aware of this and he speaks on it severally. And so I know that one thing that Andela is doing is that we partnered with the Lagos government to start Open Andela, which is, it's not our full-on program, but it's like a 4-week program. You know, it's at an e-learning center, and it's open to Lagosians. And so that's one step, but I'm glad that it's a step. And you know, so the Lagos government has it on their end to push this out to the people that we might not be able to reach because, you know, we are in a bubble, and you know, our Twitter circles are perhaps limited to techies, and so on and so forth. And so the government has a part to play, and I think if we can get them to be willing and cooperative, probably helpful. Thanks.
So, I mean, I think it's a very interesting opinion, the inclusion-exclusion principle. And I think it happens on 2 different levels. So there's the tech in the sense that I'm a developer, you're a developer, we all know how to code, and we all have our JavaScript sessions or whatever the hell we're supposed to do. And there's the other point where my father doesn't want to use a Mac because it's a Mac. What is this nonsense, right? And at the end of the day, I think those are 2 different things, and that need to be clearly distinguished. Now, technology in terms of I can write code or I am a programmer, it's really a thing of interest. I suck as a blogger. I can talk and speak and enjoy, but I really don't want to say that I'm writing stuff, right? Naturally, people who are in that space are going to look like they're looking down on me, period, because they know what they know. People who are big... Oh, you can't hear me. Oh, my apologies. Is this better? Louder or... All right, perfect. So what I was saying is the inclusion problem, there are 2 problems the way I see it, right? There's the adoption problem where my father refuses to use a MacBook because Windows, right? And there's the other problem where, for example, I'm a developer and you're not a developer because I have the interest and you don't have the interest. The point I'm making is that those are 2 different problems and they should be approached differently. So for example, I love football. I can tell you Arsenal's first 11, second 11, third 11, under 18 team, and so on and so forth. And most people here will have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, at least people who are not that into Arsenal, right? It's an interesting, right, from the technical standpoint view. Now, another thing is the actual use of technology. There are different kinds of customers, right? There's the early adopters. There's a complete range of customers, and there's the guy who is just like the grandfather who has no interest in learning this stuff, right? And the only thing I see that you can actually do for those kinds of people is to just make things more available, and things are actually happening that will make that better. For example, in January, I used to pay 1,000 naira per gig. Now I'm paying about 500 naira per gig, right? So data is cheaper. Infinix Hot, there's now Hot 1, Hot 2, I think there's Hot 3, there's Ignu, Ignu, it's just ridiculous. itel, Techno, Y4, Y6, Y10, Y12. It goes on and on and on. And those models are targeted at people who have that very, oh my God, technology, what is this? Igbo man problem type of thing. So those things are targeted at those people. And so from a customer standpoint, from who's using this stuff standpoint, we're going to scale that problem. Because if you think about it, let's go to a company like Uber. When Uber started, Uber wasn't mainstream for 2.5 years, 3 years in America. And what they did, they were targeting developer communities. Why? Because they're the guys who wanted to use all these fancy apps and feel different and feel fancy. At the end of the day, it's a matter of, it's a thing that takes time, and it's a gradual process. You have to address it. I really don't think it's a thing where we look down or you don't look down. I think that's a perception thing, and if you're not part of the cool kids writing the code, obviously everybody looks down on you, or you feel that people look down on you. I don't really think most people care. At the end of the day, it's a matter of like, look, I'm doing this, you're not doing it, it's a big deal. So for example, I've seen, in my office actually, I've seen people who work in different teams suddenly come and tell me to pay for Plural Insights. They want to go and learn how to code. Or to pay for Code School. They want to go and learn how to code. And I'm looking at you and thinking, you don't even have the basic foundation. I'm not paying you to code. I'm paying you to do sales. I'm paying you to do operations. It doesn't make sense, right? But these guys want to invest their time and do that stuff because suddenly the guy who is writing code seems so fancy, or he makes so much money, I want to be like him, and you lose focus. People have to kind of figure out, what do I want to do? At least from a technical standpoint, you have to figure out, what do I want to do? And have the staying power to focus. Because it's the same thing with startups. If your focus is making money versus driving a vision, the guy whose goal is to make money dies out very quickly, normally, In some places, it doesn't work that way. But a lot of times, the guy with that vision actually sticks through and goes on. It's just the same with the technical thing. Then with adoption, it's a customer thing. Businesses want more and more people to use tech. Businesses want more and more people to use the data. Businesses want more people to use those fancy phones. And eventually, do we hit the point where those people can afford to do things like that? So like things like Open Andela, the Andela program itself, they're very, very good because people who have that interest are given the opportunity. The challenge is that those things don't actually target people who will target people who don't have the interest, but because they don't have the interest, they don't have the staying power to actually go through and convert. It's kind of what I'm saying. So I disagree with you.
Yeah, okay. While I was talking, Bankole started squeezing his face. And seeing as he interacts more with techies, I would want him to weigh in. But before then, like, I just wanted to say something. Like, I'm talking about inclusion as a means of going forward. Because the thing is, as at this point now, as a business owner, a service provider, if you're not invested in tech in one way or the other, you're just delaying the inevitable, right? Because you need tech to get to the next step. It is. That's what I meant, yeah, with inclusion. But let's hear what Bankole has to say.
I'm not sure what exactly I was reacting to mentally. I actually think I know. It's that idea that there is an elitist divide between people that consider themselves techies, which is a word I take exception to be honest. Techies, what is that? And everyone else. Obviously, there's people who, because they know how to, build products with code and build software, they live in a certain headspace, and that is everywhere in the world. Which is why we have human user experience designers, because those are the bridge between the actual human beings and people that are writing the code. In everywhere in the world, programmers or people that write code don't understand human beings. They are caught up in the whole, solving problems with code and actually not building stuff for humans. So there is that. But I don't think it's an elitist divide, as it were. I think that as long as we figure out all the parts in the value chain, like people who are solving the problems and they are making sure those things are related to people, then you will not have an elitist divide. But what actually needs to happen is where we use technology to solve fundamental problems. And every time that has happened, you've seen an amazing response. The most obvious one, obviously, being what people are calling the mobile revolution. And at that time, they were like, Nigerians are poor. They cannot afford GSM. They don't have money. And a lot of people passed on that opportunity, but a few companies took the bet, and they were amazed. Now MTN makes so much money, people are annoyed. Like they're actually personally pained that a company is making this much money, but the truth is that this company made a bet when no one else will make that bet, and the results were insane. And what happened? Why did that phenomenal response come? It turns out that people went to communicate, and when you put a phone in people's hands, even though it was expensive at the time, now look, 10 years ago, the early 2000s, we're talking about, has it been that long? Jesus, 16 years, God. Oh my God, like we've had, like there's children and they've gone to school and they're like going to university. When we began to have phones, but then they cost like so much money. Now you can pick them up for a few thousand naira on the street. Like there's even promos and they'll be handing phones out for free. SIM cards are pretty much free. They even come with bonus credit, all of that stuff. It came by solving a fundamental problem, communication. And what happened was that accelerated exponentially people's ability to do business. All of a sudden, the guy who was doing business in a corner store became an importer-exporter. So that happened. And it's solving a fundamental problem. That is why I'm sure MTN makes more money on the 100 naira recharge cards than probably they make from me, who I don't even spend, like people that buy credit in bulk, because those guys get perks and discounts. But these guys who pay 100 naira or 200 naira for airtime are actually paying the full price. Solve the bottom of the pyramid problems, and you have huge returns. Same thing in Kenya, M-Pesa. That product has scaled not just, it's scaled beyond Kenya, it's in Tanzania, it's in a lot of East Africa. And it became, also because it solved a fundamental problem, the ability to send money to people really quickly. What we need to figure out here is how we create those solutions that relate to people. So there's people creating apps that allow people to find blood or match like blood to the right donors, like across hospitals, because it's such a problem. You get to the hospital and you're not able to find a match. But if you were able to crowdsource that information, now how big of a problem that is, and how quickly can you scale that? Again, with our endemic infrastructural issues, that's a question that needs to be answered in execution. But really, it's about solving fundamental problems. We're seeing people invest, for instance, in solar energy. And we know that is one of the biggest problems in Nigeria today. It's power. How do you figure out how to generate enough energy that people can actually stay off the grid? And if you can solve that problem at a level that is low cost enough, that is efficient and replicable, suddenly you've created this whole, you create like, I don't know, electricity in a box and you can distribute that too. What I'm even talking about has been done. It's been done in Kenya. It's been done in Uganda. It's been done in Rwanda. It's a company called Mkopa Solar now. Companies have raised millions of dollars in funding to distribute energy to millions of people. And we just need to figure out how we get those things here. So technology is including people, and it's a way to actually make people's lives noticeably better, much better than it would be if there were no technology. So I don't think there is that much of an elitist divide. We just need to figure out how we create problems that translate to bottom of the pyramid solutions, and then we can like drag people up with us.
I want to take some audience questions, but before then, I'll throw this question to you guys first. If the buck stopped with you today, what would you do to change the current situation? Economy with tech.
I guess I'll just go first, and my answer is very simple. Maybe it's a bit quixotic, but broadband needs to get cheaper, if not free, way cheaper, and it's an access question. If you gave people access, what would you? It's like if you dropped a shipping container full of iPads in the jungle, like what would happen? And it's been done before. They came back a few months later, and the kids had begun to teach themselves how to code. When you give people access, all kinds of amazing things happen. And you see what happened with Nollywood, the whole Iroko story. Iroko is an isolated event in the whole of, how Nigerian movies have gone mainstream across the world, how Nigerian music. It's a large part of that story is the fact that with Iroko's success, many people have begun to put their content online. And that whole revolution is happening. But we now the problem now is that the people that are accessing Nigerian content are actually not in Nigeria, because Nigerians in Nigeria don't have access to the content. And if you were able to open that pipe up, more Nigerians will consume Nigerian content, and they will consume content that will allow them empower themselves from an educational standpoint, from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from an innovation standpoint. I think we will leapfrog exponentially.
So I'm definitely for the broadband solution. I'm bigger, however, for also actually producing our own mobile phones. Can you hear me? Yes? No? All right, awesome. So I support the broadband opinion. To support that, what I would say is actually produce our own mobile phones. And I'll tell you why. So the company I run, Max, a lot of our riders come to us with these phones that if I throw at you, will hurt you rather than break. The challenge with that, those phones are not smart, right? So you can create all the internet you want, make it as free and affordable as possible, and if the cost of buying a new phone is too high, that guy is not going to buy a phone. So we always laugh, growing up, we used to laugh at all these made in Aba products and made in Onitsha and all these things. The reality is, if we actually could produce our own mobile phones, maybe through government subsidies, or actually bringing some of these companies that produce today in China to come and produce here with some kind of discount, and make sure that there's some agreement that ensures that 90% of their staff, for example, or 95% of their staff are Nigerians, right? But bring these guys in, increase the actual production of these smartphones in Nigeria, and you can probably get them for less than 10 grand. So they buy all these phones, all these 3310s, all these phones that I'll use and enjoy you type phones for 5,000, 6,000, 10,000. Those phones, you produce them locally, the smartphones, it'll probably cost you that as well. So if you make that affordable, make it easily available, then every person who's building stuff for the web will immediately have people who have access to that system. So that as a techie, you're not out, there's a lot of offline sales and marketing that happens today, and it's very difficult sometimes to measure the performance of some of those things. But if I'm building a service, for example, that's supposed to make it easy for you to get food, and easy for everyone else to get food, and my guy here only has that phone, the internet is useless to him. So produce locally.
Okay, Mohini, you've been quiet for a while.
Partially similar to that. I don't have a solid answer for this question, but I think that something that I might be capable of contributing to is helping to spread more grassroots awareness. So I remember my boyfriend telling me a story about how he was behind someone in the ATM line, and the person was holding up the line. And the reason why they couldn't, why they were holding up the line is because they couldn't figure out how to use the ATM. So such people exist. And while we're thinking of, the next big things, it's also important to somehow increase accessibility for the people who are still just entering the game. And so I don't have a solid answer for how to do that, but there are other forms of communication that people pay attention to. Maybe it's training schemes in a local center, come and learn how to use the ATM and mobile phones or something. But I think that's something that needs to be addressed, and I think I would try that.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, we'll be throwing it open to the audience. If anyone has questions, let me just see your hand, and I'll pick. Okay, sorry. Can someone get a mic to him, please?
When Asia was going through a similar, period to what we're going through right now on the continent, is when they shut their doors to imports and they developed brands like Samsung and LG. So that's just something to add to that.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Shino. Okay, I think this is a question. It can pass as a question. What I want to ask is, we've discussed the things that we can do. The last question was, if the buck was at your table, what would you do? But I want to call our attention to something. And this is for anyone on the panel. What can we do to ensure that the development of tech in Nigeria is not poached by the government and is not made more difficult? Now, she mentioned something about making it accessible to the people at the rural level. And recently, we started reading that if you want to fly a drone in Nigeria, you have to have as much as $4,000, where it costs $5 in the US just to get the license. So my fear is this. Every day I have met with startup guys that are doing things with the internet and everything. My fear is that one day the government is just going to wake up and say, oh, this is a gold field that we have not thought about before, and they will come with their different regulations, somewhat retrogressive regulations. So what steps can be taken from now to ensure that by the time they come, they won't be able to hold down the technology, the development of tech in Nigeria? Thank you.
It's a fascinating question. It's also one that is, look, I've been of the opinion that quite a few things that have been happening over the, past few months. The outgoing minister left this whole legacy, innovation hubs, they'd invested in broadband, and coming in, it first of all looked like there was no agenda, and when, I think they even split the technology ministry into two different places, and there's a science ministry, and now there's a communications one, and somebody was talking about making pencils and sending astronauts and all of that stuff. So if you, it's hilarious, we're now at the point where we feel like we actually want less government intervention than more, because when they actually come there, they do scary stuff like ban drones or try and make everybody host their data with, locally. Again, in a country where there's no electricity, how do you keep servers running? Or doing that, at cost, and all of that is happening, and it's screwed up. I assure you, it's very worrying. But having said that, there is also a learning process that is going on. And while as I sit here, I actually declined to go to a roundtable session in Abuja with the vice president, because they are talking about how they interact with the technology sector. And they are working with innovation hubs. They're trying to see how they can set up these points and learn from, obviously, the people that have been doing innovation in Nigeria for the past 10, even 20 years, or even the relatively new people on the field. And all these lessons, all of those learnings from all those people will culminate, I think, in a more considered approach on the part of the government, because really you don't want the government to not be part of it. The government can help, which is that's the danger. It's kind of like we don't want regulation. Actually, you want regulation because the government can help startups to start up faster by providing economic incentives, tax breaks, making it easier for them to do business. That's the function of the government, to not just jumpstart technology businesses, but the rest of the economy in general. But it needs to learn to be able to do that. And I believe that process is in motion. It's not happening as fast as we would like, but I want to stay optimistic, and that's what I'd like to say. People should kind of hang in there. What we need to do right now, though, is when we're seeing ham-handed things happen, like, again, arbitrary drone regulations and crazy stuff like that, we need to speak out and tell them that it's not okay. But we cannot lose faith in the system, because, that is the pragmatic thing to do, I think, in the long term. We need the government as much as the government needs us.
So I think people need to organize. I found out about the current the drone thing that's even a different ballgame. So actually they're discussing forcing tech companies in Nigeria to host their data within Nigeria. And I spend about 200,000 naira a month buying diesel to run a gen. So I can only imagine how that will affect my data costs. Now, they don't have the infrastructure to keep all these things running. If I scale to 100,000 requests per minute, how does that change my costs? How big does data center? There's a lot of questions that they cannot answer that I don't want them to use my business and find out. So at the end of the day, it comes to people staying informed. A lot of people watch DSTV, want to watch football, we want to do a lot of fancy stuff. You watch CNN, you watch Al Jazeera, you're not watching NT. Watch NTA News though. Read about the Senate. Look at what budget is talking about. Read a lot of the things they're publishing. And actively organize and discuss these things. Because at the end of the day, I don't think the government their intention is to be mean, right? They are strapped for money, they are struggling. So everywhere it looks like money to them. Everything, they want to collect money. So I think that's literally what has driven that drone thing. Or like the 50 naira they charge for all the city transactions. If you go and use a teller to deposit money, they charge you 100 naira for the paper, charge you 50 naira tax, charge you 100 naira for the transfer. To deposit 1,000 naira, you spend 250 naira. The question that becomes, is it worth it to deposit that money? Right? They talk about how people are unbanked. But the concept, what people fail to realize is that 200 naira is a lot to an Okada rider, for example, who now has to pay 50 naira to enter Lekki, 50 naira to come, another 50 naira to go, another 50 naira to come. Where's the money in the business for him? So you want government actually involved, but you also want government properly educated. So a lot of people who advise government today may not necessarily be practitioners who know how these things affect people on a day-to-day basis. And that's what we want. We want people who are there to be practitioners. I will feel comfortable if someone like Bankole, for example, is advising government on media relations, or not necessarily media relations, but like blogging, right? And how to help them generate capital or things like that. I'll feel comfortable if I have someone like Ian, for example, providing advice to the government on what kind of tax breaks they need to give to startups, right? Because the thing is, they need the right people talking to them. So it's a lot of, if you want government definitely involved, but if you want government involved in the right way, you have to educate yourself, you have to organize, and you have to be very active. Part of why budget is such a good platform today, or such a good source of information today, is because they organize and they are active. They are actually talking about issues, they are going out there and making it a big deal. NLC is troublesome, they cause strikes here and there, but they fight for the common man. Who fights for them? Nobody else, right? I'm not saying unionize, but I'm saying educate yourselves and engage, reach out and ask the right questions. Because the truth is like this, the Nigerian government is like the Pharisee. They will stone anything they don't understand. In Nigeria, they will ban. If you want government, if you don't educate your government, they will just be banning. If they don't ban, they will tax you. And when they tax you, you just don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. Because, for example, Nigeria is one of the only few countries I've seen where there are no massive government tax incentives to startups. So at the end of the day, you're a startup and you're paying 19 different taxes. And that becomes, what is the point of doing all these things? You now want to go, that's why you have much higher failure rates in countries like Nigeria than anywhere else in the world. So definitely you want your government involved, but you want to be educated, you want to engage them, and you want to make sure that they actually understand what the impact is. Because a lot of times they think they do, but they really don't.
We've come to the end because we've actually run out of time. And so thanks to Chinedu, Mohini, and Bankole. The conversation doesn't have to stop. You can see them, talk to them, get their Twitter handles, and take it from there. From me, Sanusi, that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay.